Russia has everything. Desert, grassland, taiga, forest. Never before have I covered a landscape section on a country that is that big. Spasibo, thank you. Privyet, hello. There are northern lights. Fun for the reindeer that live here. The 160 volcanoes, 29 of them still active. This is where Siberia starts. Yes, here comes a video on the largest country in the world. I'm Camilla, I make travel and geography related videos. And today we're zooming in on... There's a big chance I'll pick right by just random. Russia! Okay, yeah, Russia is big, but if I take this globe and pick a random spot without looking, there's only a 3% chance I'll point at Russia, since Russia's area is about 17 million square kilometers, and the Earth's surface is about 510 million square kilometers. But Russia's still big. I've had a lot of fun researching Russia. If there are any mistakes, feel free to let me know. Let's zoom in. Russia lies in Northern Asia and Eastern Europe. Russia is transcontinental. How can that be? Where is the border between Europe and Asia? Well, geographically speaking, a continent is defined as a large landmass surrounded by a large body of water. But it is obvious that Europe and Asia aren't separated by a large body of water. We can argue that Europe and Asia is one continent called Eurasia. And we can also argue that Africa can join in, and we have Afro-Eurasia. But in defining what a continent is, culture also plays a role. So the general idea is that Africa, Europe and Asia are their own continents. The location of the border between Europe and Asia is up for discussion, as again there is no large body of water that separate them. But there are other natural features that we can use as a separator. Mountain ranges. Here are the Ural Mountains. West of the mountains lies Europe, east of the mountains lies Asia. So the biggest portion of Russia lies in Asia. We then follow the border and the mountain range, and there are multiple correct answers as to where the border should go, but many would agree the border goes here through Kazakhstan, making Kazakhstan also a transcontinental country. Then the border goes through, look, a large body of water, the Caspian Sea. We can use that. And here we have a mountain range. We can use that too, the Caucasus Mountains. We continue and hey, a body of water that separates Asia from Europe. And we can kind of follow the water through Istanbul in the Bosphorus Strait. Then the Sea of Marmara, lastly the Dardanelles Strait, and then we enter the Mediterranean Sea where all three continents meet. So this chunk of Russia lies in Europe, bordering here in the north Norway. I actually saw this border last summer and posted a video on it. Here is the border with Russia. That's Russia right there. You see that mountain in the background? That's Russia. Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland. Don't forget this exclave Kaliningrad, Belarus, Ukraine, where there are territorial disputes over Crimea, a peninsula in the Black Sea. And in Asia, Russia borders Georgia and Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, a little border with China here, Mongolia, more of China here, and lastly North Korea. A total of 14 countries that share a land border with Russia. Seas that border Russia, I've already mentioned some of them, are the Sea of Japan, Sea of Okhotsk, the Bering Sea, where Russia almost borders the US. See these little islands here, the Diomede Islands. Big Diomede is part of Russia, and Little Diomede Island is part of the US. And here, the international date line goes right through. Approaching some ice-cold water, we have the Chukchi Sea, the East Siberian Sea, the Laptev Sea, Kara Sea, Barents Sea, all parts of the Arctic Ocean. South, Russia borders the Black and Caspian Sea, and also the Gulf of Finland. Some large islands of Russia are Severny and Yuchny, part of the Novaya Zemlya archipelago, Oktyabrskoye, Revolutsy, Kotelny, and the biggest one, Sakhalin, almost touching Japan. Let's take a look at the extreme points. The northernmost point lies in this archipelago in the Arctic Ocean on, hey, Rudolph Island. Maybe that's where Rudolph the reindeer lives. The easternmost point is Big Diomede, which actually lies even more east than the eastern hemisphere. This is the western hemisphere. 180 degrees east actually lies here. Wow. The southernmost point lies here, bordering Azerbaijan, and the westernmost point lies in Kaliningrad, right here on the border with Poland. About the size of Russia. You all know that Russia is the biggest country on Earth by area, with 17.13 million square kilometers in area. far bigger than the next country, Canada, with only 9.9 million square kilometers. I tried to draw a line from the westernmost point of Russia to the easternmost point in Russia, that if you were to travel the shortest way between the 2 points, you wouldn't actually touch Russian ground at all, and you would go straight through the North Pole. To cross the whole country by car could take 135 hours. That is 5.6 24-hour days straight. Actually, that seems like a great idea for a road trip. And Russia stretches over 11 time zones. So when it's 11 a.m. in Kaliningrad, it's already 9 p.m. in the Kamchatka Peninsula. So how many people live in this country? Around 144.4 million people live here. And Russia comes on number 9 in population. The much smaller country, Bangladesh, has around 25 million more people than Russia. But Russia has a little more people than Mexico. So how about the population density? Large country, 144 million people. The population density is 9 people per square kilometers. And Russia comes in number 181 in population density. Less densely populated than Saudi Arabia and Republic of the Congo. Life expectancy has been rising in Russia from 66.8 years in 1960 to 72.6 years in 2019. The capital city of Russia is Moscow, and this is the second most populated city of all of Europe after Istanbul. It is also the northernmost and coldest megacity, a city with at least 10 million people on Earth. Other big cities in Russia are St. Petersburg, Kazan, Yekaterinburg, and Novosibirsk, and most people live in the European part of Russia. The official language is Russian, a Slavic language also spoken in Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan. It is written in the Cyrillic alphabet with 33 letters. Some are similar to the Latin alphabet. Some words you need to know in Russian are spasibo, thank you, привет, hello, and я потерял свой телефон, I lost my phone. Russia in Russian is Russia, and the name Russian is derived from Rus, which was a medieval state populated by the East Slavs. Okay, let's go to Moscow first. Whoa, that looks like a huge city. You can see there's a ring road going around the city. Let's just measure approximately the diameter. Almost 30 kilometers across. And there are a lot of other towns surrounding Moscow. Wow. Yeah, this is a huge city. Let's see what happens here. Okay, there is the Moskva River going through the city here. And here, the Moscow Kremlin. See it on the picture there. The State Kremlin Palace. Ivan the Great Bell Tower. Whoa, there's so many grand buildings here. Red Square, landmark square and site of cathedral. Yes, with a view to this cathedral right there. And here is St. Basil's Cathedral. Probably the most famous building in all of Russia. I like how it has many different colors. And then southeast of the Red Square, we have this large park, Sariadia Park, with lots of stuff. What is that? Cultural center, plant nursery. Wow. Ice cave? Really? There's ice in there. Underground archaeology museum. There is so much to do in Moscow and I've barely scratched the surface. Yeah, so here we have this river, Moskva River. And it looks like you can walk here along this river. Here there is a bridge to another part of town. Big roads. Georgian restaurants, Burger Heroes and McDonald's. Yeah, they're everywhere. Look at this city. It is huge. Is that the train station? Is this where it happens? Trans-Siberian Railway? Maybe you can start your travel in Russia here. Huge city. Okay, but I want to see more of the country. Yeah, first I want to go to the Arctic, to the north, and then see if there are any people living here. Oh yeah, see? Several settlements around here. Let's try this place. Karasave. Yeah, and there is lots of industry in northern Russia. I think there is fishing. Don't know if that's happening here though. But look. People live here and work here. And this is so far north. Oil fields. Okay, there's oil here. Right. And that looks like ice. Let's travel from here to Moscow. Yeah, and it doesn't look like you can actually drive that way. Maybe there aren't roads connecting this place to Moscow. So yeah, this is probably pretty isolated. Look at this landscape here though. It looks super flat and it doesn't look like there are any trees here. Okay, I'm gonna continue to the far east, maybe here. This is also super isolated because there aren't any roads, I believe, there aren't any roads going from here to the rest of Russia. So if you want to come here, you'll have to fly, which is okay because it's probably super far to drive. Let's just check out this area. Look, mountains. Wonder if these are fjords. Could be. They look like it. Could this be a nice beach to sit down? Well, here's a small town. Look at this river. The water's just going everywhere. Yeah. And this is where some people live. There are small roads going from here further into the lands. Yeah, I want to check out the drier regions of Russia, where there is semi-deserts, among the driest regions in Russia, except for Arctic Russia, where there is hardly any precipitation at all. Oh wow, look at this! This is also a fun pattern. What is all this? Lots and lots and lots of small lakes. Here it says cordon. What's that? Fishing camp, okay. Well, that's a cool landscape. And look at this river delta. This area is much more green than the surrounding areas. What is the name of this river? Volga River, yes. This is where the Volga River streams into the Caspian Sea. Never before have I covered a landscape section on a country that is that big. Russia has everything. Desert, grassland, taiga, forest, tundra. The only thing that they don't have is a tropical rainforest. Here is a topography map. I can already see that we can kind of divide the country in two. The half western part that is generally low in elevation with a few exceptions, and the more mountainous eastern half of the country. But let's go into detail. I'm going to explain from west to east. First, the East European plain, the European part of Russia. This area is generally flat, and what dominates here are forests, coniferous like here, deciduous like here, and mixed forests. In the south, we can find a huge grassland area where there are less trees. It's drier here. And moving closer to the Caspian Sea, it gets so dry we can call it a semi-desert. This area lies close to the Caucasus Mountains, lying between the Black and Caspian Seas, also a boundary between Europe and Asia. These mountains have alpine landscape. Here are glaciers and pointy peaks, and the tallest peak of Russia and Europe, Mount Elbrus, at 5,642 meters, or 18,510 feet. Moving east, past the East European plain, we get to the Ural Mountains. The Ural Mountains form the natural boundary between Europe and Asia, and the range extends from the Arctic Ocean to the border of Kazakhstan. The highest peak is Mount Narodnaya with 1,894 meters. At the other side of the Ural Mountains, we get to the West Siberian plain, bounded by the Yenisei River in the east and by the Altai Mountains in the south. Here we can find one of the world's largest swamps and floodplains. More than half of the land lies below 200 meters in elevation. This is also the western portion of Siberia. This is where Siberia starts. Moving past the West Siberian plain, we get to the Central Siberian Plateau, lying between the Yenisei River Valley and the Lena River Valley. Here we can find several plateaus, like the Puturam Plateau, with the highest peak being Mount Kamen at 1,678 meters. To the north lies the North Siberian lowlands, and to the south, you can see it on the map, real tall mountains. Here are the Altai Mountains, where Russia meets Kazakhstan, Mongolia, and China. The tallest peak is Baluka, 4,506 meters. Here we have the Sayan Mountains a little more east, and then we come to Lake Baikal, the largest freshwater lake by volume in the world. It has more than a fifth of the world's fresh surface water. More water than all of the North American Great Lakes combined. That is because this is the world's deepest lake, with a maximum depth of 1,642 meters. This lake is also among the world's oldest and clearest lakes. Moving east, we get to the Stanovoy Mountains, running from Lake Baikal to the Sea of Okhotsk. We can move even further east, to northeast Siberia. This area is super mountainous. Here's what it looks like. Here lies the Kamchatka Peninsula, and just take a look at its location on the map. Where are we? Yes, the Ring of Fire, a ring around the Pacific Ocean where tectonic plates meet. So this area has a high volcanic activity. But how high? Kamchatka has around 160 volcanoes, 29 of them still active. Wow, that is impressive. The highest volcano is the 4,750 meter Bolshezemelskaja Sopka. Kamchatka is also one of Russia's 2 regions with seismic activity, where earthquakes can happen, the other one being the Caucasus Mountains. So now you've heard the names of mountains, rivers, plains, plateaus, but a name you've probably heard of before is Siberia. Siberia stretches from the Ural Mountains all the way to the Pacific, so a lot of the landscapes I have mentioned are part of Siberia. Siberia is known worldwide to be freezing cold. The lowest temperature recorded in Russia was in Oymyakon in 1933, with a freezing temperature of minus 67.7 degrees Celsius or minus 90 Fahrenheit. Whew! This is the lowest recorded temperature in the world outside of Antarctica. Oymyakon is considered the coldest inhabited place on Earth, with mean temperatures for January of minus 46.4 degrees Celsius. But at the other hand, many towns in Siberia also reach temperatures of 30 degrees in the summer. So Siberia has the world's greatest temperature variation between winters and summers. Siberia is dominated by taiga, with lots of coniferous trees. Just think about it, most of Russia is taiga, and Russia is the largest country in the world, so yeah, that's a lot of trees. The northernmost parts of Siberia are too rough for trees to want to grow, and here we can find tundra. We can call this area the Russian Arctic. It is Russia's northernmost zone, stretching from the Norwegian border to the Bering Straits. The tundra covers about 10% of Russia, and this is a region without any trees. The long and harsh winters are only liked by mosses, lichens, and shrubs that grow above the frozen ground, permafrost. But this is not a boring region, no, because during the summers there is midnight sun, when the sun doesn't set at all, and during the winters there are northern lights. Fun for the reindeer that live here, and for the less than 1% of the Russian population. It's opposite side time. I put my ruler in the capital city Moscow, move it for 20,000 kilometers around the globe, and we land in the South Pacific Ocean. There's no land around here. I think the closest land is right here on Antarctica. Russia is so big. If there were only an easy way to see big parts of Russia in little time, why yes there is, the Trans-Siberian Railway. You can basically take a train from anywhere in Europe connecting to Moscow, where the Trans-Siberian Railway can bring you all the way to the Russian Far East. You can even continue into Mongolia, China, and Southeast Asia. I would love to take this train one day. Suggestions for destinations along the railway are, well, first Moscow and see the iconic St. Basil's Cathedral, then board the train. Remember to bring some entertainment like movies or board games so don't get bored. Then the first stop after 12 hours could be Kazan. Kazan is a true melting pot. You can see Kazan's Kremlin, including a cathedral, and the Kul Sharif Mosque, one of the largest mosques in Europe after Istanbul. The next stop is Yekaterinburg. We are now close to those Ural Mountains, and the border between Europe and Asia is a short car ride away from the city, where you can plant one foot in Europe and the other in Asia. Well, that is a must stop. The next stop is 3.5 days away from Moscow. It's Irkutsk. This city has great historical significance, but is also a highlight because of its location near Lake Baikal. So you can get out of the train and see this unique lake. Not far away from this lake comes the next stop, Ulan-Ude. This is a special stop because this is the center of Russian Buddhism. Yes, Russian Buddhism. A highlight here is Ivolginsky Datsan, the first Buddhist temple built in Russia in 1945. Then, get most out of the Trans-Siberian Railway in Russia and continue all the way to the end of Russia to Vladivostok. That is 6 days and 2 hours away from Moscow, not including the stops we have been on. Here you can grab some Chinese food. The Chinese influence is pretty strong here. Here you can go hiking, there are mountains, peninsulas, and islands, and there is an airport, so you can continue your travel. Russia is the country of extremes, the biggest country in area, coldest recorded temperature outside of Antarctica, the world's deepest lake, landscapes varying from desert to alpine mountains, to volcanoes and thick forests. And they even managed to build a railway across the whole country. These were some geographical facts on Russia. Next time, we're gonna go to Romania. And we're zooming out. Thank you for watching, guys.